The Philosophy of Elbert Hubbard, page 65, Marriage and Divorce. My old college chum, Winifred Black, has recently propounded this question: why are husbands lobsters? So I explained to Winifred the cause of this sad state which devolves a lover into a lobster. It is like this. The rule is that the male of the genus Homo is never any better than he has to be. Having said this much, let me further add that this truth also applies to the female of the genus Homo. A marriage that is practically indissoluble gives the man security in his position. He is not obliged to win favors. He merely exercises his rights. As for the woman, she has him, and when she reminds him of the fact, hell is to pay. The man who stands on his rights, thinks about his rights, talks of his rights, belongs to the lobsteria. He has ceased to be either loving or lovable. The only right any man should have is the right to be decent, that is, to be agreeable and useful. One of nature's chief intents in sex is to bring about beauty, grace, and harmony. The flowing mane and proud step of the horse, the flamboyant tail of the peacock, the song of the bird, the perfume and color of the flowers, are all sex manifestations, put forth with intent to attract, please, and fascinate. Charm of manner is a sex attribute which has become a habit. The creative principle in all art is a secondary sex manifestation. The average married man feels that he is immune from the necessity of winning, pleasing, charming. He owns property. He's a Turk. And from the Turk and the comet, good Lord, deliver us. Public opinion is the great natural restraining force. We are ruled by public opinion, not by statute law. If statute law expresses the zeitgeist, it is well, but often law hampers and restrains public opinion. Divorce laws are obsolete in their character and should die the death. A marriage that cannot be dissolved tends to tyranny. There is a rudimentary something in man that makes him a tyrant, that divides humanity into master and slave, and to these barbaric instincts we are heir. The business of civilization is to make men free, and freedom means responsibility. The curse of marriage is that it makes the parties immune from very much of that gentle consideration which freedom bestows. Freedom in divorce is the one thing that will transform the marital boor into a gentleman. Freedom in divorce is the one thing that will abolish the domestic steamroller. Freedom in divorce is the one thing that will correct the propensity to nag in both male and female. We gain freedom by giving it. We hold love by giving it away. To enslave another is to enslave yourself. Constancy, unswerving and eternal, is only possible where men and women are free. Marriage was first a property right. The woman was owned by the man. She was his chattel. He had the right to take her life if she attempted to escape or was otherwise unruly. Then the priests came in and declared marriage a sacred right. They brazenly declared that the marriage where they did not officiate was no marriage at all, and that it was a base and unholy alliance, and that the children were illegitimate. The relationship of man and woman was to them a sin and a shame, but by their approval it was redeemed and made proper and right. To grant a divorce was to admit that the right did not take. Hence, divorce was taboo. The church isn't interested in divorce. All the church is fighting for is to hold its position. Then comes civil marriage, which is a contract between man and the woman from which neither party can withdraw without laying the whole matter before the courts and the newspapers. And the sacredness of contract takes the place of the sacredness of the right. I would hold my friend by no stronger tie than the virtue that is in my soul, said the gentle Emerson. Easy divorce would make divorce unnecessary in a vast number of cases because it would put men and women on their good behavior and thus do away with incompatibility. That which tends to increase charm of manner cannot be bad. That which tends to conform a lover into a lobster is not wholly good. All over the United States, there is a general demand for a uniform divorce law. This is right and well, and the way to bring about this uniformity is to do away with all divorce laws. If divorce were free, it would probably be no more frequent than it is now. Marriage should be difficult and divorce easy. As it is now, any preacher will marry anything to anybody for 50 cents. Nightly, clergymen are roused from sleep to marry couples out of the second-story window. Marriages occur in circus rings, balloons, show windows, and yesterday I heard of a wedding in an automobile going on the high clutch at high speed, with Papa's car opening up the cutoff close behind in hot pursuit. Bum lum da lum. Marriage is so serious a matter that it should not be entered upon lightly. The old plan of publishing the banns was founded on common sense. The couple about to embark should be compelled to take a full month to think about it, and persons absolutely unfit should be debarred. But once entered upon, just two people know whether the venture is a success, and they are the man and the woman. In the name of freedom, let the only parties who are vitally interested decide the issue. Divorce is a heroic remedy for an awful condition. It is the culmination of a fearful tragedy. I know of nothing worse than incompatibility. There is no hell equal to the hell of having to live with a person who is not your own. Either party who wants a divorce should have it, and the proof that it is desired should be reason sufficient for granting it. Make way for liberty. It isn't the law that brings a man and a woman together, and no law should be invoked to hold them together. The police should keep their heavy hands off. What can an outside party know of this most subtle and delicate of all human relations? The love of man for woman and of woman for man is the most powerful and persistent force in the universe. And man in his greed has seized upon it and attempted to regulate it from Harrisburg, Hartford, and Helena. Now, there are many folks who think it should be looked after from the District of Columbia. God help us all. Just lift off the roofs and take a look at social Washington some night at 4 a.m. The lawyer here steps in and becomes as insistent and as dogmatic as the priest. Once you could marry only through the ministrations of a priest, now you can secure divorce only through the services of a lawyer. Often a dozen are employed, counting both sides. Why make life difficult, complex, and heavy, cries Emerson. And well does he ask the question. This supreme thing in life, our love, cannot be regulated by man's law. The supreme power that made, fashioned, and gave it to us provided for its automatic regulation. When love, honor, and respect die, it is time in the name of purity to part. No priest can consecrate the holy relationship of a man and a woman, but God can and does. Love is the only consecration, and love is enough. To imagine that God should endow us with his mighty passion and then leave its regulation to those who govern us for a consideration is an insult to the divine intelligence of which we are a part. The mating of a man and a woman is the one sacred thing in life, and left alone, it is lovely and true in all its attributes. In law, they will tell you that the plaintiff has all the rights his contract gives him and no more. In nature, a man should have all the rights which love bestows and no more. And when I speak of man, I mean woman too, for there is the male man and the female man. I believe in equality, the equality of nature, or, if you please, of God. I do not believe in the law imposing and giving man rights and woman privileges. Neither do I understand why the money a woman earns should belong to a man, unless we first grant the rightness of master and slave, and frankly admit that the man owning the woman also owns her per se all that she produces, including her children. God has decided who the children belong to. They belong to the woman who bore them and whose body nourished them. But man steps in and makes laws about a mother's instincts. Men and women mate, and being mated cleave together until death do them part, and longer. They whom God has joined together, no man can put asunder. The mischievous meddling of man leads to a condition where the parties think they own each other. This is slavery. Many married men treat any other woman with more respect than they treat their wives. The gallantry that holds through gentle treatment and just is gone when the man thinks he holds a warranty deed for the property. To be free, you must be on your good behavior. And do not for a moment imagine that a man would leave his mate if law did not manacle him to her. He is held by an unseen silken cord, as strong as fate, as constant as life, as persistent as death. Whither thou goest, I will go, and thy people shall be my people. The divine attraction which brings the right man and the right woman together must be trusted as strong and sufficient enough to hold them. When you treat them as rats baited into a trap from which escape is impossible, you dissolve the main idea and interpose the thought of escape. And this is what makes so many married men and women stray in their sleep and tread the borderland of folly. I would hold my mate by the supreme integrity of my love for her and by no other. And this, once fixed in the minds of men and women, would make for constancy. Nothing is more terrible in life than to break and sunder human relations. To be true to your own is the natural thing, because it is the right thing. It is the only policy that pays. Happiness lies in loyalty. This applies to any field of human endeavor. The race knows it for the first time in history. Truth is the new virtue, and truth is a virtue because it reduces the perplexities of life and brings good results. The love of man for woman and of woman for man and of both for their children is a divine instinct. When you bolster and brace it by political blacksmiths and shuddering shysters, you doubt its constancy. And what is worse, you suggest the doubt to the very people you seek to fetter. The greatest line ever written by Humboldt was this: "The universe is governed by law." But he did not refer to the laws of man. He referred to the laws of nature, or, if you please, the laws of God. Although Humboldt in his latter years never used the word God, I believe in the blessed Trinity of man, woman, and child. These to me express divinity. Left alone, the woman would be the companion, friend, and helpmeet of the man, not his slave, pet, plaything, drudge, doormat, and scullion. Happiness lies in equality. The effort you put forth to win the woman, you should be compelled to exercise through life in order to hold her. And you will hold her by so long as love kisses the lips of death, and the dimpled hands of the babe encircle the neck of its father. The house of the harlot exists because love is gyvied, fettered, blindfolded, and sold in the marketplaces. There is nothing so pulls on the heartstrings of the normal, healthy man as the love for wife and child. Always and forever he wears them in his heart of hearts. To imagine that he would forsake them for the husks of license unless looked after by jaggers and jaggers is to doubt the wisdom of the Creator. In our hearts, divine wisdom implanted the seeds of loyalty and right. These are a part of the great plan of self-preservation. We do not walk off the cliff because we realize that to do so would mean death. Make men and women free, and they will travel by the eternal guiding stars. That which makes for self-respect in men and women, putting each on his good behavior, increasing the sum of the goodwill and lessening hate, will have a most potent influence on future generations. I cannot imagine a worse handicap than to be tumbled into life by incompatible parents and be brought up in an atmosphere of strife. We have bred from the worst in the worst possible way, and the result is a race of scrubs, says Alfred Russel Wallace. All that tends to tyranny in parents manifests itself in slavish traits in the children. Freedom is a condition of mind, and the best way to secure it is to breed it. So I say, make marriage difficult by demanding notification and a pause. Then make divorce free on application of either party. Do you remember the woman who wanted a divorce if she couldn't get it, and if she could, didn't want it? No one wants a divorce from his own. This would be the one horrible and appalling thing in life. Let life be automatic. Make room for the divine. And in this article, I have only stated what all thinking men and women know and believe, but which they wisely declined to say or even admit. Therefore, I have said it for them. We will now listen to the Anvil Chorus. End of Marriage and Divorce, page 78 of The Philosophy of Elbert Hubbard, narrated by Rex King.